Good to be with you again. Our main issue in this programme is going to be the television coverage of football and whether there's too much of it or too little of it. Whether television does justice to football or whether it's killing the game and reducing the crowds at the gates. Obviously, a lot of people are thinking of the saturation coverage of the World Cup. Football fanatics think it's wonderful. Football haters can't see why they should have to put up with football summer and winter. It's certainly a vexed question, which causes a lot of strong feeling. And later I'll be talking about these issues with Bob Gardam, the TVS head of outside broadcasts, who has directed 3 World Cups for television over the last couple of decades. But first, for this week's letters, starting with 2 contradicting ones about sport. Here's Vivian Love from Gosport.
I think that TVS is showing much too much sport. Sport, sport, sport. That's all that's ever on the telly these days, it seems. Whenever you switch on the telly, what's on? Sport. I hate it. And I'm not the only one who hates sport.
There's more than one who loves sport too, Vivian. For instance, 82-year-old Roberta Woods from Worthing.
Having viewed TV for 35 years, I would much prefer to watch sport on the different channels than the dreadful pop groups or kitchen sink drama. Long may Saturday afternoon sport continue.
I wonder how many of you will believe it's almost precisely that type of opposing reaction we get on virtually every issue in your letters. It means that taking action about what you say is a bigger problem than it may seem from where you write your letters. Here's a letter from a male Toni, good Lord, from Parkston in Dorset, who doesn't let us have his surname.
As a regular viewer of Watch This Space, I'm afraid I have a very serious complaint to make. I enjoy all the things you talk about and show on this programme, including the outside interviews with Lucy. The other day I saw for the first time Lucy doing her interview, and I must ask you, why, oh why, don't you show this gorgeous creature either conducting the interviews or at least let us see her at the end? I'm sure the majority of viewers don't know what they are missing. So come on, don't be mean. I shall be goggle-eyed from now on.
Thank you, Toni. And we do quite often see Lucy at the end of her films. We'll try and make a special point of including her today just for you. And if you watch our brother and sister programmes at this time on Mondays, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, Lucy also reports in them from time to time, so you can have a real feast. Now here's 13-year-old Julie Hale from Blackfield near Southampton.
I am writing to complain after hearing that TVS is axing the best programme on the television, We'll Meet Again. This programme has been the highlight of the week. How stupid to leave the programme with so many loose ends, such as Chuck Erickson missing, dead or alive. Can't they take some of the rubbish programmes off and leave We'll Meet Again on?
We've had several letters on this subject, including one from Sandy Hyde from Eastleigh, who says that it's wrong for us to leave you with American viewing and to take away all that was British. Well, can I reassure you all and say that we're not axing or taking away anything? Quite simply, the series has come to an end. And it was very complicated to make, and the producers felt that the story should end there. Who knows? Perhaps they'll make a second series. But it's fascinating to guess where you got the information about TVS chopping the series. Quite often your letters seem to be based on wrong information. I just wonder where it comes from. Anyway, there used to be a saying that half the lies they tell about the Irish aren't true. And the producer told me that one. And perhaps the same can be said of television. Next, Stanley Hicks from Folkestone with a beef about TVS music.
I wonder if there's any chance of you changing the music that introduces your local news programmes. The music that brings in your main news is fine, skillfully written, truly introductory. But this other frenetic stuff, this tooting staccato rumpus, absolute grief. It really is honking horrible. And who composed it anyway? And who, for God's sake, is playing it? I only ask people around here because they're beginning to mutter.
Mutter, mutter, mutter. I don't think it's fair to give away state secrets of that sort, Stan. Actually, though, it is the same music throughout. But yes, there's a chance of changing it. All long-running programmes change their music, their sets, and even their presenters from time to time, so be patient if you can, and I'm sure there'll be a new sound eventually. The only trouble is that if the new music pleases you, it's bound to upset a bunch of other people who will write to Watch This Space asking us to bring back the old music. Now, a ferocious onslaught from Mr. R. Ferriday from Rowland's Castle.
I've many grizzles about TVS, but most of them are caused by your being a bunched-up jump of amateurs. But there's no such easy excuses for your weather forecasts. I have telephoned you 3 times about it, but you could never get hold of anyone except stupid secretaries who don't know what they're talking about.
Charming.
OK, to the point. You broadcast the many miles of coastline, and that means water. H2O, wet stuff. Look it up in the dictionary. It may also surprise you to know that boats, ships, people float on it. Thousands of boats, windsurfers, etc. every day.
Sorry not to read all your letter, Mr. Ferriday, but you do go on a bit. What Mr. Ferriday basically wants us to do is to give detailed information for him and other water sports enthusiasts about winds, tides, currents, and all the other relevant information. Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Ferriday, but we just can't do it at the moment. But we'll talk to our weather people and see what can be done. Meanwhile, if you look in the back of your telephone dialing code booklet, you'll find numbers to dial for all the coastal regions in the country, including the TVS area. Phone them rather than us, and you'll get a very friendly recorded message. Here's our last letter this week from Mr. Smith from Basildon in Essex.
I was appalled to hear on your TVS programme Points of View.
Watch this space, actually, Mr. Smith. You really mustn't taunt Barry Took like that. He doesn't look like me at all.
When the vicar's daughter justified the cruelty and undue suffering of fox hunting. In my view, the majority of the people involved in the hunt are a bunch of snobs with nothing better to do. And the only reason I can think of why they take part is to keep up an image that associates wealthy people with the hunt. I wonder how many of them would join in a corgi hunt. Mr. T. Smith, Basildon, sensible middle class.
Perhaps you've pioneered a new sport there, Mr. Smith. Corgi hunting. Well, thank you all for your letters and for all the trouble you take writing them. They certainly add interest to our lives, and I hope you'll keep them rolling in. Now, back to football. And Toni, you're getting goggle-eyed. This week, Lucy went to Winchester and asked people there for their opinion of the massive coverage of football on television during the World Cup.
I love football myself, yes.
No, I couldn't really care less about the World Cup, to be honest.
Looking forward to it very much, yeah. Yeah, it should be good fun.
Well, I don't really give a damn about football, really. I don't like it much.
I should watch it. I can't do nothing else.
You know, I'm one of those strange people, and I'm afraid that the only thing that I can say in favour of football is that it's marginally less boring than cricket.
I just think it's a good idea to have it all covered on telly.
It wouldn't matter to me if it's not on the television.
You gonna watch all of it?
Most of it, yeah.
Well, I'd probably watch maybe a final or something, but I'm not particularly interested. Never get tired of it? Oh, not football, no.
No, I don't mind. I like tennis now and again. But football's my favourite.
Darling, we don't watch television.
What do you do?
What do you think?
Well, Toni, apart from the one or two who've obviously got far more interesting things to do, there's an enormous amount of enthusiasm in Winchester for the World Cup.
The lovely Lucy. Now, here's Bob Gardam, the TVS head of outside broadcasts. For the last 3 years, he was in charge of the big match. He's directed 3 World Cups, 13 FA Cup finals, and 2 royal weddings, whatever that's got to do with football. And, Bob, can you tell me, are television and football exactly good for one another?
I think so, Tony, yes. I mean, they've been together now for 20 years, the old saying.
You could sing that.
They've enjoyed, yes, we could. They've enjoyed the exposure, and we've enjoyed the viewing figures. So, yes, it has been good for one another. I'm not so sure that's the case now. I think it has been overexposed, but that's another question. And I think, you know, television and football are looking at this problem.
What do you think about the riots and the trouble at the gates? Do you think people are maybe staying at home and watching television rather than going?
Hooliganism is blamed an awful lot for this, for people staying at home watching television. I don't think it is entirely hooliganism. I think football has got to look at itself. I think the major problem is in the type of football they play. The defensive football of today is not what the public want to see. And that is why they stay at home and see television, because television coverage is edited and they only see the best parts. You don't get the boring parts.
Actually, that reminds me, because the other day I saw the FA Cup or whatever it is, and I found it really not all that interesting. I mean, is it because we didn't see the bits that you edit so cleverly?
That's interesting. It's the first one in 13 years that I haven't done.
That's why.
No. I think it wasn't a good game. Basically, it wasn't a good game. You say a friend of yours went to see it and said it was a good game. It's a matter of opinion. It wasn't a good game, so that's simply, I don't think you blame television for that.
OK, well, thank you very, very much, Bob, for coming along and seeing us. There's no Watch This Space next week because of the Pope's visit. We thought we'd better give way just this once. But I'll be back in a fortnight's time. See you then, and keep writing. Bye.